Dêadly, my MVVs, welcome. Royal panic in the palace of the Ooni of Ife as Igbi and Ebony vanished after gospel immunity was removed. Ooni of Ife allegedly boils with rage and issues deadly ultimatum. And this is what we are hearing, that after gospel's immunity was removed, they went to fetch Igbi and Ebony in the early hours of the morning. They said the immunity of gospel was removed around 3 a.m. in the morning. Now, they needed to give gap to bring the second person for their immunity to be removed. They needed to follow the traditional protocol to do other things after, the first immunity was taken off. And, they said the palace was still unsettled from the tension of the previous, issue, the tears and everything. After gospel's immunity was removed, the elders were still discussing in small groups and the atmosphere was heavy. Early that morning, word began to spread that Igbi and Ebony were nowhere to be found. Their apartments were empty. Their personal belongings were still there. Nothing was touched, and none of the palace guard could explain when they left or where they went to. That they just disappeared into thin air. This is what we are hearing. The Ooni of Ife's palace in his private quarters when he was informed. At first, he thought it was a misunderstanding. Maybe they had gone to, maybe see friends, or maybe inside, there's so much tension already in the palace. It is difficult for a lot of them to cope just like that. And so Ooni of Ife had thought that maybe they were still inside the palace. But the guard went round and round and round and found out that they were not there. Yes, they said they were not there. Details became clearer that they left in the middle of, that night without notice. Okay, apparently they left even before gospel's immunity was removed. He immediately summoned the senior chief and the head guard. His voice was firm and heavy. He said he had already decided that the immunity of all of them who had gone against the peace of the palace would be removed. Now, and after seeing what happened with gospel, Igbi and Ebony had decided to run away to avoid facing the same process. He said this was not just an immunity, it's about respect for the palace and the authority of the throne. He ordered a full, detail, as in information on what happened and where they went to, not only in Ile-Ife, but also in nearby, communities there and all of that, what happened. They had to even go to the families to find out what happened. He told the chief that if Igbi and Ebony wanted to run outside, they must publicly renounce his name and stop using any connection to the palace. If they refuse to return and yet continue claiming ties to him, he would take action that would close every door of favor they had ever enjoyed through his name. So invariably, Kabiyesi is very, very upset that they have done this. Kabiyesi is not joking with them. Kabiyesi has made it very clear that whether they like, let them run to Timbuktu, that immunity must be removed. Yes, the immunity must be removed. They said the chief listened quietly. Some tried to appeal for a calmer approach, saying maybe they left out of fear and that they could be persuaded to return peacefully. But the Ooni of Ife made it clear he was no longer interested in repeated warnings and gentle, persuasion. He said the palace could not be a place where people, picked and chose which rules to obey, and no one is too important to face the consequences of his action, whether his own wife is going to whether they are his wife or not, he's going to do what he needs to do. The same way he would have treated an outsider is the same way he is treating them, that he is removing immunity from them, whether they like it or not. Welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Dêadly. I bring you fresh and spicy gist from the source. And still on the royals. How are you guys doing? I appreciate you. I love you. Happy midweek to you. Thank you for always being here. I appreciate each and every one of you so much. They say messengers were sent out with instruction to inform the families of Igbi. In fact, even those who were present in the palace and Ebony that they were to bring them back to, Ife immediately. If the families could not do so, the Ooni of Ife would interpret it as a sign of support for their disobedience. Made it very clear to them. They said, families, especially those who were in the palace, were, unhappy, and so some of them even started crying. They said by this afternoon, the palace was tense, servant whispered in corners, guard moved in and out with reports from different search points, and some of the other wives stayed out of sight. Nobody wanted to be associated with defense. At that moment, the fear of losing immunity had become real, especially after Gospel's case announced the disappearance of Igbi, and Ebony had made it clear that the Ooni of Ife would not hesitate to act. As evening approached, no trace of them had been found. The Ooni of Ife reminded everybody that no matter what happened, that he is going to take away that immunity. And, everybody is shocked at the seriousness of the Ooni of Ife. Maybe they actually thought that Kabiyesi would not carry through with it. But after what happened to Gospel, everyone is startled. Everyone knows right now that Kabiyesi is not joking with anyone. In a serious mood, speaking little and giving, short, direct orders. Kabiyesi was just there giving direct orders to people to make sure that Ebony came back. He told the chief that if Igbi and Ebony were not back soon, he would move forward with a public declaration stripping them of every recognition tied to his throne and his name. And that was the scariest thing. So everyone is hoping that they are going to come back with that ultimatum that Kabiyesi has given. Everyone in the palace understood that Kabiyesi is so serious right now. Now, I think nobody ever thought that, look, Kabiyesi could go on with that immunity removal. Maybe they never believed it, but after what happened to Gospel, they now saw that, look, this man is really, really serious. Being married to the Ooni of Ife without protection, or, when a woman that is associated to the throne completely lost protection, influence, and privileges, it's a thing that could ridicule her for life. And that is what these other women do not want to go through. And that is why they decided to run away. But where do you run to, and how far can you run, and to what end? Because at the end of the day, you need to come back to your home, which is the palace. And if you come back, the immunity will still be removed. This is what we are hearing. I wanted to bring you this update so you know what is going on in the palace. I'm going to bring you more. I appreciate you so much. Thank you. Do not forget that these are all alleged rumors, unverified information making the rounds on social media and should not be seen as fact.